Hi, this is Joe giving another review. In this video we'll be discussing a horror movie classic. I know that the day doing this video is on November 1st, 2018, so the day after Halloween. But because I didn't have the time to do this video yesterday for Halloween, so we're doing it afterwards. And I did mention in the previous video that I won't be surprised if we're going to do horror movies after Halloween. Man, my word, because the timing of, my busy with other things, so it was kind of busy to watch these horror movies in time for Halloween. So anyway, the movie reviewing in this video is the 1932 version of Dr. Jeckyll and Mr. Hyde, starring Favorite March as the title character. And he did play both parts of Mr. Hyde and Dr. Jeckyll. Of course, one of the problems of this movie is that everybody pronounced the name Jeckyll as Jeckyll instead of Jeckyll. I don't know why that is, but in all the other versions of the Jeckyll and Hyde story, everybody pronounced the name Jeckyll, not in the 1932 version. They call it Jeckyll. And instead of Jeckyll, it was pronounced Jeckyll. Anyway, that's not really the only problem in this movie. This was also the first sound version of the Dr. Jeckyll and Mr. Hyde story. There were other versions during the silent film era back in the 20s that they made, I think maybe two versions during the silent film era. And also they had several other versions after the 1932 sound picture, one starring Spencer Tracy, which I'm eventually planning on seeing, and sometime down the line do a review of that one. But for the time, and there was a Broadway back in the late 90s. There was a Broadway musical called Jeckyll and Hyde, and it was kind of like a cult favorite. It only lasted like a couple of years on Broadway. They never made an actual movie musical, based on the Broadway show, but they did do a television version for PBS, or Channel 13 here in New York City for public broadcasting service, with David Hasselhoff playing the Dr. Jeckyll and Mr. Hyde role. And he did play both roles on Broadway. The Broadway show for a while, and then they recorded one performance and they put it on television. But that's the only real, filmed version of the Broadway musical of Jeckyll and Hyde. Which only had one real big song, and that was "This Is the Moment." And you can look at those clips up on YouTube. I don't know, and I think they have the whole TV version on YouTube, the musical on YouTube. So if you look it up, I believe it's up here. Anyway, back to the film. Like I said, this was the very first sound film in 1932. So my favorite marks as both characters of Dr. Jeckyll and Mr. Hyde. This movie is, of course, based on the Robert Louis Stevenson story about a scientist. So not only that, but he's also a regular medical doctor who wanted to explore or try to see if he could split the personality in half. Of one would be good and one would be bad. And try to split take the bad personality out of somebody and create another person, and the other person would be, of course, the good side or the bad side of a person. But the problem is that he kept changing from the good person to the bad person, and he came up, and Dr. Jeckyll, as pronounced in the film, he kept changing to the bad personality, especially every time if he would get aggravated, or if he would get scared, or if he would get mad, he would transform to the evil personality. And he had that going back and forth. And the transformations were terrific. Especially, it may seem kind of lame by today's standards, but back in 1932, it was really something to see. And to have that change, and you see it gradually, and then of course covers his face, so that maybe you could put in the false teeth. They had long teeth, almost like fangs, almost like Dracula. When you change it into the Mr. Hyde persona, and he did came up with the name Dr. Jeckyll. Came up with the name Dr. Hyde himself, no, because the butler, or Jekyll's butler or house servant, he comes in because he heard like a strange voice, and he said, "Oh, that was my old friend. There was an old friend of mine from school, Mr. Hyde." So he came up with that name. So he's calling himself Mr. Hyde when he's in the evil persona. Of course, during this time, one of the main subplots that he was engaged to a girl, Dr. Jeckyll was, and the girl's father kept delaying the marriage, and both of them says, "Hey, look, when we get married already, when we get married as soon as possible, we love each other and all that stuff." And the father said, "No, I want you to be married on the same day that I was married to your mother." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's 8 months from now. You want us to be engaged for 8 months? You're waiting 2 months away. You want to wait another 8 more months?" And the father says, "Yeah," because the father was like a complete asshole. In the movie, Jeckyll, the fiance's father, was the complete asshole in this movie, and of course we all know that you know what eventually was going to happen to the fiance's father in this film, and they don't give it away. So when the girl, the fiance, or Jekyll's fiance, and her father goes out on a trip for a couple of months, Jeckyll was like completely heartbroken. The fiance is not there. The father's refusing them. And the fiance's father refusing to let them get married earlier, and the father took her away from him because maybe a possibility that she'll break the engagement and all that stuff. So give Jeckyll time to work on his experiment of splitting the the good and bad personalities into different people, and that's what he did. Which of course, and eventually worked, and he was running around as the Mr. Hyde persona. He was going to the bar, goes out, gets drunk, went around with local hookers, prostitutes, and there's one he was obsessed over. He was a singer in the club that he was going to, or that Hyde was going to, and so he decides to set her up in this particular house, an apartment in a slum area, and he was constantly abusing her. And throughout the time, he was changing back and forth, but a lot of the times he was the Mr. Hyde character most of the time in this part of the film, and he was constantly abusing the girl that he was shacking up with. There's a couple of scenes where he actually attacks the girl and rapes her, which is 1932. Or at least for 1932 film audiences, was something which you never really seen until maybe 91 and 70s, supposed to be in the 80s, where you have a rape scene in the film. The only other movie that I can remember them having a real physical rape scene they actually see was in the 1988 film The Accused, and I previously reviewed, so check it out. Robert Joy Foster won the Academy Award for it. So you really don't see scenes like this. And in the 1940, I think it was like 1940, was Spencer Tracy version. They cut a lot of that stuff out because of the coming down hard on horror movies, in that time. Anyway, and the girl that Hyde was shacking up with wanted to leave him, and she actually goes to Dr. Jeckyll, when you were transferred back to the Dr. Jeckyll persona. And she didn't realize that Dr. Jeckyll was also Mr. Hyde. She didn't realize this stuff. So she tells him that she is getting abused by this guy named Hyde, and she wants to leave him. She doesn't know what the hell to do. She's stuck. She's stuck between a rock and a hard place. She doesn't know what to do. And Jeckyll decides to give her some money, like 50 pounds, because it was in London. So the 50 pounds, his 50 pounds. You go away. You run away. Get out of the country. Try and get out of the country or out of the city. Go to the suburbs. Go do something. Get away from this guy. And meanwhile, she decided not to leave. And then when Jeckyll transforms back into Mr. Hyde, he goes back to the apartment and he kills the girl. Because A, he didn't want her to come back to the house, afraid that her fiancé would come back, which she eventually does, from a trip. Comes back and says, "Oh shit, I better do something with this girl, because otherwise she's going to tell my fiancé about what's going on, about Hyde, and figure that stuff out." So Jeckyll turns back to Hyde and then goes back to the apartment and says, "See, I knew," and gives you all the information that the girl gave him when he was Dr. Jeckyll. And the girl figures this out and says, "Wait a minute, how can you possibly know what I told Dr. Jeckyll?" And he goes, "I know everything, and I'm Dr. Jeckyll. I'm also Dr. Jeckyll." He tells her, and then he kills her. And then everybody was chasing him. The cops were chasing him. The people in the apartment house were chasing him. And he somehow gets back to the apartment, and the cops figure out who Hyde really was. There was a double personality thing going on, and they didn't exactly figure that out so much. They figured that Hyde and Jeckyll were like the same person. They didn't figure out that he experimented on himself like this. And the cops tracked him because the same cane that Dr. Jeckyll used, like a walking stick, was what Hyde used to kill the girl. And the cops found it at the girl's apartment, and so he found out who the killer was, and Hyde, Jeckyll tried to change back, and he tried to have the formula as an antidote, and the antidote eventually kills him. Spoiler, eventually kills him at the end, and as he was lying there dying, his fiancée was there, plus plus his assistant. That assistant, his butler, got all upset that it was really Dr. Jeckyll as Mr. Hyde, and he died at the end of the film. And it was the first time that I really seen this version. I think I saw it like a little bit before when I was younger, but I never really saw the full movie. And I thought this was really a terrific movie. I mean, you had to be nuts not to see the potential of how really a great film the 1932 Dr. Jeckyll and Mr. Hyde is. And Fenwick Marsh gave a great performance. As a matter of fact, he became the first actor to win an Oscar for not only playing a dual role, but being in a horror movie. And this really was a horror movie. And this was only I think it was the 5th year that they had the Academy Award. This is how old this movie is. It was only had the 5th Academy Awards, and he won for Best Actor for this role. And I think it became, like I said, I think it was the first actor to win for playing a dual character and also playing in a horror movie. And also got, I think, and I don't know if they had an award for makeup back then, but I think they did. And also won an award for the cinematography, because it was great, because they got a lot of point of view shots in this film as well. So the film style was really unique, because especially in the early part of the film, especially towards when he's changing back and forth between between Dr. Jeckyll and Hyde, you had a lot of point of view shots and that sort of thing. And it was really, it wasn't like throughout the whole film, but there was a lot of it to say, hey, the cinematography was really unique, especially for that time. You didn't really have those point of view type stuff until maybe the slasher films, like 40 years later, or over 40 years later, we had the slasher movie genre in horror movies. So now a review of Dr. Jeckyll and Mr. Hyde, 1932 version. Please click on the video, please rate it, please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews on my YouTube channel by rowdyc.com, ZOWDY, and then C.com. On the homepage, the Rowdy Reviewer, Chris Lee Moore, and please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.